It's Julia Renee.
And Kendall Aaliyah. Welcome back to the Know Your Power podcast.
Hey guys, welcome
Hey.
back. Today we got a super serious episode. Super serious.
Wait, before we get into it, Chloe wanted to say hi.
Chloe
so
says hi.
Hi and love you from Chloe.
Yeah, we need to have her back. We are going to start having more guests. You know, it's definitely still going to be me and Kendall mainly, but we want to have more guests like from all, walks of life. You guys know Chloe's one of the more regular guests, but that is something that's going to be changing. But today's episode, it might be a little bit of a long one because it's something that has been on my mind a lot lately. And like, honestly, the inspiration for this episode, it kind of came one day. I think I was sitting at my desk and I think it may be Morgan or Maya, but we have a girlies chat where it's like sorry.
Yours.
It's not mine, but our group of friends is like all together, and it's super cool that my own like little sister is in it. Cause I remember when I was younger, I'm older by 2 years, I had a group of friends and my mom would always be like, take Chloe with you. Take Chloe with you. And I was like, I'm like, she's stealing my friends. Like, you're embarrassing me. But
And look at her now doing it again.
They always loved Chloe.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, I'm like, I am so happy that that I can have a friend group and my sister be like so in it. It's so great. But as a kid, I was like, you're annoying, get away. But I was texting back in the group and it made me realize that, wow, I finally have something that I have always wanted that I thought I was never going to have. I remember it was actually before I met Kendall that I realized that I didn't have girlfriends. Like it was that point where I left the salon and I wasn't really hanging out with them anymore because our not because anything happened. The things that we liked changed and ultimately ended up not really being close.
Yeah.
And then I was getting ready to start my own business, like with everything that we have now. And it was a point where I felt really, really lonely. And I remember actually crying because I thought there was something wrong with me. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, why don't I have friends? What can I do? I feel like everybody has their circle and I just like don't have my circle. And you see in like the movies, like there's always like these girl groups and they hang out and like I would think even now, like I'm like, oh, I think to like Sex in the City or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, they're all so close and they can tell each other anything. And I never felt like I had that. So that's been like the inspiration for this episode today, because I really wanted to dive into like, why is this the case? Why do we feel so scared? Why do we feel intimidated by each other? Why does it feel like it's so hard? And what I realized upon reflection, that I needed to become the type of woman that I would want to be friends with. And at the time, I wasn't.
Same.
Not necessarily, I wasn't a mean girl, like I wasn't gossiping. I was just kind of like alone and distancing myself for reasons that I don't know, but now I do.
I think for me, I always had this like assumption that, other girls just don't like me. Like women just don't like me.
And we just talked about that before we started filming.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Oh no.
We just said that. Because there's this really badass girl at
who we want to be friends
at my
with.
gym, and we were talking about her, and I was like, I always just thought, like, I just assumed that she didn't like me.
Yeah.
And then the other day she came up and she said hi to me at the gym and asked when I was competing. And like, it made me so happy because I was like, oh my God, I made it all up in my head.
Exactly. Well, I think exactly what you're saying of like, you have to be the type of person you want to attract, where I had this assumption like all those years ago before we had met, where I was in the same boat where I was like, girls just don't like me. So I'm just never going to talk to them. And then it's like, I'm part of the problem.
Yep.
I'm expecting them to come up to me when I'm not going up to them. I'm expecting them to be friendly towards me when I'm not being friendly towards them.
Exactly. That's so true. And you never realize what's going on in their head because they could honestly be thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she just doesn't like me, when really you're both thinking the same thing and
It's
you don't
funny.
even realize it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And I still get so, I want to like preface this in the beginning because like we've come a far way with female friendships.
Yeah.
I still get so nervous talking to girls.
100%. I still do.
Where I'm like, I swear I transport back to like middle school where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna talk to the popular girl and I
Yes.
hope she likes me.
Yes, and I hope she doesn't make fun of me and tell me to leave her group. You know,
Exactly.
It's like there's all that, and it does stem from. It can stem a lot from like when you're younger, even like your relationship with your mother, all of these things. But when you become the kind of woman that cheers other women on, you then attract those same people. So that's kind of where this disconnect was, where I wasn't necessarily being, mean or gossipy,
Yeah.
but I was isolating myself, which was creating a disconnection. And that bleeds. Like it'll bleed over into how you are possibly perceived by others, where really you're sitting there and you're just as scared as everybody else, but they might think that, oh, like, well, maybe she's mean. And you're like, no, I'm just terrified.
I'm just scared with RBF.
Yes.
So I'm really screwed.
Yeah. So I started like diving into why does this happen? And I feel like it does go really deep. And I feel like one of the biggest things is that we are conditioned from such a young age to compete instead of cheer each other on. Like we're taught that there's a pretty girl, there's a strong girl, there's a smart one. Like even if you just like look at some of the movies that we grew up watching, like there can only be one of a certain thing.
Yeah.
And that's where that resentment and competition can come from, when it's like it doesn't need to be that way. There can be multiples of the same thing and the same gift everywhere.
Well, I feel like sometimes, because like we're both close with our moms, and like sometimes as a parent, you obviously want the best for your child. So I think it came from a place of love, but I think every time someone else around me, like another young girl, got something, got an achievement, won the competition when I like actual competition, in like gymnastics and stuff, when I was like against them or whatever, and I feel like my mom unintentionally, and this happens all the time because again, you want the best for your kid. They kind of view it as like you're going to get that next time. You're going to get that thing that she has. And it's like, it's okay to exist and for her to win and for me to not win that day.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be built up, even though it was like in the gymnastics case, a quote unquote real competition.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a personal competition. I don't have to want this girl to lose for me to also win.
That's true. Yeah. It's almost like you're putting the actual competition aside and focusing on, you can win this time, I can win next time. And it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think I even talked to my mom about it this morning, because when I was creating the outline for this episode, I remembered back to a time when I was in, maybe it was like middle school or high school or something, but it was me and my sister. We're 2 years apart, so we would have similar things with other girls that were in our school. And I remember, I can't even remember the exact person it was, the friend, but there was something that was going on that was like really upsetting me with her. Maybe someone was being mean to me or excluding me, or I don't know what it was. Or on the flip side, there were times where I was jealous. Like I was jealous of maybe like an outfit somebody had. Like we've all been there. It's a very normal feeling to have. But I remember being so frustrated with my mom because she would always look at it from the lens of, you never know what's going on in her life. And she would also be like, there's no reason to be jealous because you can have it. She can also have it. She can have a really cool outfit.
Yeah.
You can have a really cool outfit.
I love your mom for this point of view.
And I would get so mad because I was like, you gotta be on my side.
Yeah.
No, she's the dumb. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Because you're young and you don't understand it. But when I was creating the outline of this episode, I remember texting my mom and being like, I just remember that you did that for me. And I didn't know. And even to this day, I'm not going to share my mom's age because she'll get mad at me. My mom is stunning, gorgeous, just the sweetest. She dresses so cute. And she still compliments women wherever she is, no matter the age, no matter what stage they are in their life. She makes a point to tell them that.
We love a girl's girl.
I didn't realize that because now it's bled over to me and my sister, where my sister is a little bit more introverted than I am. Chloe, you guys know her, but she still will do that. She'll still go up to people and be like, oh my God, I love your purse. Or, you know, whether it's like somebody's personality or something that they're wearing or something they said, like, if you think it, say it. So I just was talking to my mom this morning and telling her about the episode, Inspiration. I was like, thank you for doing that. Like, I didn't realize what you were doing when you were doing it because I was like, be on my side, Mom.
I think it's like almost the opposite for us, where like my mom and I, in more, like I would say more in the last like 10 years, have evolved in that way together. But I think it's because we were both in such a masculine household, like having 3 brothers and my dad. My mom's very much so in her masculine. Like it really, like all my brother's friends were always over. So even more boys in the house, where it was truly like, it was just like not even taught, not even caught. Like I just wasn't around it. I wasn't around positive female interactions because it was just me and my mom, and we had a good relationship, but that was like literally my only example.
Yeah, you were like in your own little mom and daughter bubble.
Yeah, exactly. You know? And like I think a lot of the sports I did were like sometimes more on the masculine side too, where like it was so different. So I think it took like getting to high school and then like college age and now like as an adult for me to break through that shell and almost try to like do it on my own. And I think being around people like you who are a positive example in the like, oh, go tell her you like that thing. And now I'm trying to bleed that to my other female friends, where I was with one of my clients at the gym the other day and she was like, that girl is so pretty. And I said, go tell her. And she goes, really? And I said, yeah, why not? I was like, you know how good it would feel to receive that. And you're genuinely thinking it, go tell her. And then she went over and she told her and she came back to me and she was like, she was so nice and so pretty. And I was like, it feels good to uplift other women. But sometimes if you're not taught that or you're not around that, it's so easy to just stay to yourself and not do it.
Yeah. And we'll go into too, like some of the very like valid reasons why you might not want to do that. Because I was once at that point where I didn't want to do it for X, Y, Z, but it is kind of crazy how, you know, a lot of the things that we see growing up, whether it's like pop culture, you know, movies, TV shows, and even just like in your own like high school, like in middle school, that we're catching this and we don't even realize. Like when I was making the outline for this episode, I looked up like some of the top shows that we all love. And I just want to read this to you and how crazy this is. And look, I still love these movies. But let's talk about, okay, so Mean Girls, the ultimate example of like girl versus girl culture, cliques, backstabbing, you know, competition for the attention and who has the most power. Like there can only be one, you know, even like John Tucker Must Die. I love that movie.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's really good. The girls only come together after competing for the same guy, competing again. She's all that. There's a hot, popular girl versus the nerdy makeover project, both defined by their looks and getting approval over which one is which. Even like Snow White, the mean evil queen, literally wants to kill Snow White because she's the fairest of them all.
That's crazy. That's how far back it goes too.
This is how far back it goes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Cinderella, stepsisters hate her because she's pretty and she's kind and they want to compete for the prince's attention. Devil Wears Prada, women in a workplace tearing each other down for power. You know, and trust me, I still will watch these movies and love them, but as an adult, looking at them and being able to see that, wow, this is an example that was set from such a young age. And maybe when you were watching it, what you were really focused on was, oh, the love story and the prince. And that's a whole other topic that we need to, that's a whole other episode that, oh, I gotta be saved or whatever. But, you're also watching what women are doing to each other.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it, that it's caught, but we're conditioned to believe like that there can only be one. And without even realizing it, you feel the need that you have to compete against each other, you know, which if we want to go even more woo-woo with it, I'm like, did they do this on purpose so that we wouldn't be friends? Because if we were all friends, then we can take over the world.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing. Another one is the fear of being judged.
Yep.
The fear of being judged. Like, we have all experienced, maybe it was a friendship, getting burned, feeling left out, maybe someone gossiping about you. We have all experienced that in some point. Maybe it's in your high school, middle school. It's even happening as an adult. Like, I was on the phone with my mom, and at her age, she's like, it still happens. She was talking to me and going, I can't believe that it still happens at this age.
Yeah.
So we've all experienced some form of that. And we've all been hurt, and this hurt can create these walls where you are hiding because you're scared of putting yourself out there again, worrying that you'll get hurt.
Yeah. Same thing goes for like romantic relationships where
Exactly.
we've all definitely done that, where you have a bad breakup and suddenly you have 200 walls the next guy has to break through. Like,
100%. I'm going to have major trust issues going into my next
I
relationship.
do not blame you. But sometimes it takes like realizing that just because one person wronged you doesn't mean like every woman is now bad. The same way we shouldn't put that same judgment on men and assuming they're all the same,
Exactly.
So I think I definitely struggle with this probably the most. Again, like growing up with all brothers, I felt far more like I felt less judgment for guys because I think I didn't care what they thought about me. Versus like girls, I'm like, they're going to pick up on the fact that I'm not good at makeup. A guy would never notice that. And like,
I care
that,
way more when I'm at the gym. I care
more.
way more about what the girls are
I'm
thinking.
dressing for the girlies. I do my makeup for the girlies
100%.
like every time. So I definitely think I seek their approval more. And if it's not like immediately given, I assume that there's like judgment there that they simply don't like me, which is ridiculous because like, do I have those thoughts about other women? Literally never. But it is a weird assumption that I like put on these other women to have about me.
And it's crazy because we've all done that where maybe we have been burned before. And so you kind of go back into your shell and you use it as protection so that you don't experience that again, when that is one of the biggest walls that's created where you now can't connect. And I think that's where I was in my realization from quitting the salon and being in like not really having any friends, feeling lonely, where I was sitting there unintentionally creating this block between me and other women where of course no one's going to come up to me because I looked like I was scary or but I wasn't,
Yeah.
I wanted to have friends just as much as somebody else wanted to.
Yeah.
So when we do this, it kind of perpetuates this cycle of, oh, I'm hurt, so I'm going to hide. She's also probably hurt and she's hiding. We're all just like little girls out here that are potentially also hurt.
Very true.
That one girl that you think is scary is probably another hurt girl.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it when we had like done a workout and then talked to each other after for like a full year. But you had said like you went home that day and was like, I kind of want to be friends with her. And I went home that day and I was like, I kind of want to be friends with her. And yet neither of us took that action until we were like forced into the same room again.
Yeah. It took me and her doing like multiple like workouts together to like, warm up to each other. It was crazy. And I think I've talked about this before on the pod, but I remember Kendall was one of the first real friends that I actually made in the fitness space that actually lasted. And I remember leaving and I went home and something told me that girl's going to be a really big part of your life in the future. And there was no evidence to tell me that was a yes or if that was a no. So I remember being like, huh?
You want to know the most messed up part?
Okay.
I never told you my perspective. I was in, and sharing this for insight, because why not? Because this did shape my view of women as well. I had a little rat in my ear because I was in a toxic relationship where we got back into the car and he like told me all the things I said that were wrong. And I was like, oh, so Julia probably hates me.
I am so mad. I am so appalled.
I do think granted, I think everything happens for a reason and our timing ended up being well, and now we're connected years later, obviously. So it all worked out. But I think like having someone there being like, you said that wrong or you shouldn't have brought that up, made me like revert back into my shell even more, where I was like, okay, I'm not even going to talk next time, you know? So don't let anyone else tell you how you should act or be, or
no,
because I feel like when you make friends, you make them for a reason. Like there are other people who connect with your personality. If you shift your personality to try to be likable, those aren't going to be the people for you.
No,
you know?
Because then you're going to have to walk around playing a character, and that's exhausting.
Yeah.
And we've all done that. You know, we've all like shifted our personality to try and like fit in, and then you ultimately can't look at yourself in the mirror because you don't recognize yourself.
Dude, like every time I even try to be like one of those outgoing bubbly girls, I'm like, who am I?
Yeah.
Like it's exhausting. Like I'm a
I
mellow
end up hiding
person.
in the bathroom.
I'm like, take me at my mellowness, or like I'll be in the corner, talk to me when you want. Like that's totally fine.
I'll be in the corner. Yeah. And I think that is just something that will continue to come with age, where you realize, okay, you take it or you leave it. You take me or you leave me, and you'll find your tribe.
Yeah.
But don't use past experiences with other women to block you from creating new experiences, because not all women will be like that person that hurt you.
And I also think don't assume. So like, I think something I've done is I maybe had a friend from a certain area, from a certain industry, from a certain age group, whatever it is, where I assume like, oh, it's that whole subset. So then I like almost block myself from connecting with the same. So like if you meet some girls at the gym, right, and they end up doing you wrong. I think you told the story forever ago about like, you wanted to join someone's workout. They said no to you or something, where it was just like a weird, I don't remember who. I think you said that they were like, it was when you were new here.
Yes.
Like new to Austin.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Not to bring up your trauma.
No. Okay, so I was trying to get into being like a fitness influencer, and there was 2 or 3 girls that went to like my gym at the time, and I had like maybe 800 followers on Instagram, and I was just so eager to like make friends and stuff. And I remember asking like, hey guys, like if you ever want to work out, like I'd love to work out with you, which was a big deal for me because I never asked anybody anything.
Yeah.
And they all went to work out and I didn't get to work out with them.
But see, that could have made you go, okay, like I'm never talking to a girl at the gym again, or I'm never talking to a fitness girl again. Like sometimes I tied it to whatever that person did or how I met them or whatever. And like, wrote it off as like that industry is bad. And it's like, it truly, everyone is different.
True.
We all have our own unique experiences. And maybe they were wronged by another gym girl too. And then it's like,
exactly. Or maybe they didn't even, and that's the thing, maybe they didn't even realize like, I am actually now friends with one of those girls that was in that group, and she's amazing and I love her, and she's been a friend for years. But that's the thing. It's like, you can take it and make it into whatever you want. And then we have like the flip side where I was in this in-between phase where I loved fitness and I just wanted to like tell the world about it. And I wanted to have other girls in my space that also got it and understood. And there was a lot of stepping out of my comfort zone that needed to happen. I had to become the type of woman that I would want to be friends with. And that's how I slowly started attracting. I remember standing on like I was at a squat machine and there was a girl who was a power lifter filming herself, and she had a tripod at the gym and everything. And I was too embarrassed to do that at the time. I wanted to, and I was looking at her and I was like, dang, how does she have so much courage to just power lift, have her camera out, like filming? I was like, gosh. And I was like, I remember walking and being like, nope, go back. And I was like, no, And I was like, one, two, three, go. And I went up and I was like, hey, where'd you get your tripod?
It's like any weird pickup line.
I've always wanted to film at the gym, but I've always been just too shy. Like, I really think it's cool that you can do that. And she's like, girl, do it. I was shy too at first. We became friends.
Yep. Literally every person who's ever come up to me in a situation like that, it almost like breaks down the wall for me as being someone, like when you're on the receiving end of something like that, like it feels really good to give advice to people. So if you're the person going up, like asking for advice, it might feel really nerve-wracking, but most of the time people just want to help each other, you know? So it's like once you break over that like initial question, usually the conversation becomes a lot easier.
Exactly. And if you just sit there and like assume that every woman is out there to hurt you or that it can go bad, that's going to be your reality. And look, there could be instances where you don't get the response that you want. That can happen, but that doesn't mean that you stop trying, because if you want something to change, you have to be the one to go out into the world and act in that way, and not just sit and wait for something to change when you're not contributing to it, you know? I feel like it is our responsibility as women to put the energy out there that we would all want to receive. And there's going to be some homework at the end of the podcast.
I kind of love what you said, what your mom did, because I feel like I try to have that same outlook where if someone doesn't meet me with the same energy, say I go up to them and they are dismissive or they are like kind of shut down the conversation or whatever, rude, if you will. I feel like I always revert back to like, they're probably having a hard day today, or like, you don't know what they're going through. The same way, like you're trying to connect, maybe like she's just struggling that day and that's okay. And that exactly is the point of like, don't give up just because one person had like maybe not the best interaction with you.
Exactly.
Because I know I've definitely had days where I'm really in my head in the gym and someone will say hi. And while on a happy day, I would have stopped everything to have a long conversation, I might have just been like a quick like, oh, hey, good to see you. Like something a lot shorter, where then I'm sure they could read into it of she didn't stop to talk to me. Does she hate
when
me?
you're
like,
fighting your own demons up in
exactly.
here.
So it could always go
You never
anyway.
know. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, and I feel like this was the biggest one for me, and you probably too, especially with how you grew up in sports and like being in very, you know, things that are labeled masculine sports, but it's like feeling the need to be the cool girl, you know? The cool girl.
I was obnoxiously trying to be the cool
girl. Where you're like,
right?
okay, like I'm just one of the guys.
I thought like, and it did make me a more chill person in the long run, but I was like, don't let anything affect you. Like just be like the chill girl that they can tell anything to. And then and then I would sit there and it would eat me up.
Yes. And like, I feel like with the cool girl trope, there's also the, you're not emotional. You don't express, you know, your feelings. You get along, I just get along better with guys or like girls are just too much drama. You know, I feel like,
what a saying that I haven't heard in so long.
I feel like we've all said that at some point. For because maybe we were, again, going back to being hurt or burned in the past and letting it affect your present. We've all probably said something similar to that. I remember when I was in that moment of feeling lonely, I was like, you know, trying to put some blame on anybody else, but looking inward. And I was like, well, maybe it's because everyone's too dramatic. You know,
not
and it was
me,
like,
though.
I'm like, no, I'm not dramatic. But like, I know for me growing up as being the only girl in an all boys wrestling team, like I felt like I needed to be the cool girl and to be unemotional. Nothing, like I was an immovable wall and nothing could break through because I needed to be that in order to be accepted by all of the guys. Then for me, it was the added aspect of my brother was also on the team. And like, I looked up to my brother. I didn't want to embarrass my brother. So that really did shape the way that I went into my adulthood. And this is something that I still struggle with even now, with feeling the need to be strong and an immovable wall, unemotional. You can throw anything at me and it's going to bounce off of me. But that is utterly exhausting because the truth is you don't have to do that.
I feel like
you don't have to do that.
I've created some of my best relationships with people through vulnerability
100%.
because I've always been emotional. So I simply was never a wall. I tried, was not for me. But I did feel shame and guilt around being an emotional person. And I felt like it was a wrong thing to do or have. But like at every Know Your Power retreat we've had, at every like group of girls we've ever been around, like every time I'm not always crying, but I think just vulnerable or sharing how I'm feeling or sharing an experience I had, it makes you connect so much deeper with the people around you ultimately. So like you're only harming yourself by thinking you need to present in a certain way. And I know not everyone's like a super naturally emotional person. I think I'm pretty far extreme on that.
And Kendall and I are complete opposites too. Like
but you're still vulnerable as a person. You're still open and you're still honest. And those are like all traits that tie into that, where maybe those are parts of us we tried to dim or hide growing up. But like even Maya, for example, you've introduced us. And the last time that we all got together as a group, she looked at me and she was like, I realized we have a lot of things in common, but a lot of those came from like traumas we've had, but we wouldn't have gotten to that point if neither of us talked about it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is really cool because vulnerability is that one thing that can really bring you together. And if you are keeping your guard up and you are acting like this unemotional, immovable wall, then it could create some distance between you and other potential women as friends where they maybe don't feel comfortable enough to open up to you. And I actually got a lot of feedback that was the case for me, where people were scared of me. They felt like they couldn't come up to me and talk to me. And I didn't realize I was doing that. And then it came back from a place of me feeling like I had to be that way in order to get respect or be taken seriously. I have been in male-dominated fields since I was 15.
Yeah.
Being the only girl in an all-boys wrestling team, then moving into being a bodybuilder where, you know, it's still very male-dominant, you know. You can be praised for it, you can be put down for it, and that's kind of something that comes with it. But along the way, my vulnerability has been the thing that has connected me to other people the most.
For sure.
And this thing that I once thought was my greatest weakness or was a weakness, because I would see people that were emotional and that were open and vulnerable, and I'd be like, weak. And I don't believe that now. I don't believe that whatsoever. And I'm just being brutally honest with, like, that's how I would think in my head.
For sure.
Because I thought that was the only form of being strong, was to be like,
yeah.
But there is strength in being vulnerable, because sitting here being somebody that can easily, you know, go through a lot of things and pretend that nothing ever happened and it didn't affect me.
Yeah.
Yes, society can view that as being strong, but I am very scared of being vulnerable. So if I am very scared of being vulnerable, wouldn't it require a lot of strength to do that?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's why when I see Kendall and I would see Kendall being just open, I'd be like, oh my God, how does she do that? I'm like, that's so scary. And this is just how she is naturally. She don't even have to work on it. I'm like, damn, that's cool.
But see, I think even though I did it, I always viewed it as a weakness, where I had to shift my viewpoint as well. And I think I had to honestly be told by enough people that
your
it helped
superpower.
them.
It's your superpower.
We're now like we're coming up on another retreat, which I'm sure we'll talk more about soon. But like at the last year one, I literally, as soon as I shared something that was a little too deep, I instantly fell into a hole of regret. And I was like, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. And then I had everyone come up to me after thanking me for saying that thing. And I was like, even then I went home and I was like, still shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
Where sometimes like it is scary. It's really scary being like very raw in front of other people, especially in front of other women, when you do still have that lingering fear of judgment or criticism or whatever it is that you were like grew up thinking. So a lot of the time it's just like rewriting what the history is and like reminding myself now, like, oh, I've created these connections because of this thing I viewed as a weakness. And like, it's created an opportunity for the person across from me to feel the same way, you know?
Exactly. It's almost like redefining what strength means to you, where it can look like being this immovable wall sometimes, but it can also be taking out like, or speaking in front of somebody at the Know Your Power retreat and telling them about something that you went through and them being like, wow, I've been through something similar and I thought I was alone, but her saying that, like, the strength can look so many different ways. So that's something that I feel like I still work on every day, to view my struggles or my vulnerability as actual strength, because I can do the other thing. I've already done that. Like, yeah, okay, that's cool. But if I go too far that way, it actually hurts me a lot, a lot more. And I think for me, this actually goes into the next one, which is that we're taught to do everything and to do it alone. So I think that this is exhausting. And do you remember at the end of the Barbie movie when America Ferrera makes the speech?
I think about it like that's my Roman Empire. I think about it like once a day.
100%. And I just wanted to read a short part of it because I feel like this explains the exhaustion that we as women feel on a day-to-day basis to be and do all of the things, but not too much or not too little. So it says you have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say that you want to be healthy. And also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You know, like, we're expected to be everything all at once, and it's exhausting, and we're conditioned to do it all. And, you know, to be independent to the point where we fear asking for help.
Yep.
And that is just exhausting, man.
That's something I struggled with and still do, is the whole like independence thing.
Yeah.
Where I felt like leaning on other people, especially like other women, I felt like was a weakness. So the same way you're saying the emotional side, I think for me was like I can't ever ask for help. And that's taken honestly just a lot of like practice of having little opportunities, even in my own relationship with a man. Like, even then I feel like I have a fear of being codependent. So I rather go do everything and do everything on my own and be really independent and not rely on him. But then like, that's not healthy either.
Yeah. I actually saw a video on Instagram because of course, Instagram is now feeding me all these couple things, and I'm like, great.
Fantastic.
Just kidding. But it was a really cute one. It was like the first thing that popped up, and it says, when the I can do it all by myself girl meets the I know, but I'm going to do it for you guy. Did that make sense what I just said? Okay.
I was
like,
so.
I don't think it. And I saw it, and it was like, yes, it is amazing. And we do encourage, you know, and should encourage women to be, you know, independent. But when it comes at the cost of like creating real connections and letting people be there for you, that's when it's like, well, is it harming you actually? You know, and if we're talking about it in the sense of like a relationship with a partner, it's like, it is super cool to be very independent, but then also soften a little bit and let people be there for you. Because yes, you can go ahead and do it alone. Sure, you can go ahead and do it alone. You can. But what if having a couple of solid girlfriends around you to have your back when you're going through something? Imagine if that could actually get you through it quicker.
And it does.
Yeah. So you guys have heard, I think I must have talked about it at some point, but Zach and I broke up back for the first time back in 2022?
I think so.
I think it was
I'm
2022.
really bad with time.
After COVID, time is, whew. For the first time back then. So when we did, it was really hard. I moved out. It was, I had just competed. There was a lot that was going on. So I moved out and we were separated for a time. And I had the mentality of like, I'm going to do this alone. I didn't really ask for any help. I didn't really call many people. I kind of just isolated myself. And that's because I had this, I need to do it alone and be independent mentality.
Yeah.
And yes, that can provide me, a lot of strength and grit, but I have seen what it's like to be on the other side, where this time around, I forced myself to not do that. And it was harder this time. Things were way more chaotic than the first time. And I purposefully reached out to people, said yes to going to girls' things, called somebody. I have never once, I can't remember a time where I have called somebody just because I needed to talk. That was never in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like I would always hear girls saying like, I was struggling, so I called my best friend. Never in my life have I done that.
That's me to my mom like once a week.
No,
but yeah,
but I did.
Yeah.
Yes, did it take me? I was like, and I was like, I picked up the phone, called my sister.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone, called Maya, and I would text her just like, I need you. Or I would text Kendall and be like, this is what's happening. Like, I need you to tell me something.
Yeah.
And I forced myself to do that this time. And it was way better than going at it alone. You don't always have to go out at it alone. And I know there is a sense of like pride and like, this grit and this mentality behind that. And that's all cool too. But you can also have a little bit of help and that still mean you're powerful.
Well, like love comes in so many different ways, and like a breakup especially is like this loss. And I think just like finding love in other avenues where like we've now been all getting together like once a month and going and do something.
Next is Pottery Day.
Yeah, I'm so excited. But that gives me like my own sense of like fulfillment and like love, where I'm like, oh, I love these people, and I love spending time with them and I feel fueled by it. Where like it obviously depends on the people you're around, but those people around you should make you feel that way and make you feel safe and make you feel like, okay, the world isn't ending because this one thing happened. Where so unrelated to a breakup, but I got a lot of questions about like how to manage like friendships and a social life in prep even. And it's like, it's up to you to isolate yourself. Like bodybuilding is a quote unquote selfish sport, and we talk about that and we're honest with that, because at a certain point you're not going to have the energy. But like as much as we can still do now, it's so important to go still do stuff, show up, still be a friend, still be a significant other, still be a daughter, like those things don't end just because you're working on yourself or focused on yourself or like in this journey. Like it doesn't have to be a lonely journey. We almost choose that for ourselves.
Exactly. Because there is almost like a sense of pride of like, I did it without anybody's help.
And it's like, or you could have done it hanging out with your girls and it's so much more fun.
Yeah. And it's so much more fun, and you get different perspectives, and you feel better leaving. Like you could do that too.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that, I completely understand.
Yeah. Oh, I've done many preps alone. I'm grateful to have one with friends for the first time.
Yeah. So what do we do? Like, how do we solve this epidemic, And honestly, it starts with us. It really does. And we've talked about moments in this podcast where you being the one to initiate, you being the friend that you wish that you had.
Yeah.
Because that's how it starts. And getting over maybe the past hurt, healing that part of you so that you can go out into the world and be that type of woman to attract those types of people. Because if you, I think I said it at the beginning, what was it? If you're going out into the world with this very negative view about all women are like this, or, they're not going to respond the way that they did, I just don't get along, that's what you're going to receive. That is 100% what you're going to receive. And by switching that mentality, maybe you'll still have a couple bumps around the road of other women that are also hurting too, and that's okay. But if you switch it to you're being the one that's starting and you're complimenting them, and you're inviting that girl out into your friend group that might be alone, you're having a workout with somebody,
Yeah.
you're complimenting someone's gym outfit, you are going to start to attract other women that also want that same thing.
Yeah.
And I went from having nobody, acting like I was before, to now having a group of friends. Like there's some times where I'm like, I have so many friends, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah. And you know
I
what's
never
so
thought
cool
that was going to be it.
is like we became friends, and then like you became friends with other people, and then you've introduced us, and then like more recently, like another new woman joined the villa.
Yeah.
Is what I was gonna say, but like joined the friend group. And now like she reaches out to me and she DMs me and she comments on my stuff, and it's just like this ever growing spider web. And my mom has been hilarious. So she lives in California now, as I feel like you guys are up to date with, and she is making so many female friends. It's not even funny, to the point where she was like stressing out about making it to all of the plans she had this weekend. Where she is just like,
okay, Mom.
Yeah, no, like she is crushing it. And that is such a good reminder.
That's
also
so
not going to
cool.
share her specific age, but a reminder that it is never too late to make
not.
friends.
It's never
like
too
there
late.
is no proper age range or age group where like you need to have your friends like by this age, or you're going to be like, that's such a like a BS thing. I feel like also movies have potentially told us that like, so she's making the most female friendships I've ever seen someone make, literally ever,
So
at her
cute.
current stage of life. And she is introducing other groups to other groups, and she's the one putting it together. She's the one making the plans, where like sometimes you need almost like the facilitator of the group. And our group's kind of cool because I feel like we're all taking turns of like, I'm planning the next one.
Yes.
And maybe that one person planning it might invite like a few other people in, and then it's just ever growing, you know? So just takes one connection.
It is so cool. I mean, if we just imagine like what would happen if we all started viewing women that we see around as mirrors rather than threats, as maybe she has gone through something similar to me. Like if me and Kendall were across each other at the gym, and you know, both of us are kind of introverted, and maybe we have a little bit of RBF, and maybe I like look in her direction. I'm like, oh, she seems really cool. Like, I don't even know. And what if I was like, oh, she's probably mean? I could immediately go to that. But what if instead I looked at her and was like, you know, maybe she's just as scared as me. Maybe she's been burned in the past. Maybe she's a little bit guarded because of X, Y, and Z. So if you started viewing that girl that maybe you've been wanting to go up to, or a friend group or whatever, as mirrors rather than a threat, or instead of competition, as someone that you can also cheer on, that this is how it starts. I remember one time I posted this reel on Instagram. It was a couple years ago by now. And it was talking about just smiling at other girls at the gym.
Yeah.
And
I remember this. Yeah.
One of the comments that somebody made really like was eye-opening to me, because she said, I've tried before and, you know, they didn't smile back. So why would I bother doing it ever again? Reading that comment hurt. Not me, but it hurt me for all womankind.
Yeah.
Because it made me realize that attitude is out there, you know, and I have been her before, the person that commented, being like, well, I tried, you know, and she didn't even smile back, or she blew me off. And it's like, there could be a number of different reasons why that happened. Maybe she didn't even see you.
My eyes in the gym are glazed.
Yeah. Like I might be looking, but I am in another, you know what I mean?
I think about that too, where like,
so many
I feel like
reasons.
I almost have to go an extra mile to like actually say something to someone, because my face, I swear to God, I'm like, smile, Kendall, smile. And my face just doesn't move.
Yeah.
So like I have two modes. I have like laughing and smiling with teeth, or I have
She's
like so
"Ah."
serious. No, literally, like I'm not good at like smirking. I literally can't
Smizing.
smirk. I literally can't do it. So like that's one of those considerations, is like the next time you try smiling at someone or having an interaction, just be like, maybe they're a Kendall. Okay. Maybe they're introverted and terrified and socially anxious and have RBF. It has
Literally.
nothing to do with you. I love so much when women look at me, connect with me, say something to me, and I try really, really hard. Okay. So just view it that way too, of like, maybe it isn't even an attitude thing. Maybe it's literally her personality. She's not a smiley, bubbly girl, and that's okay.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, Like, for example, even like within our friend group, like we have some girls that are more like chill and like bro-y, if you want to call it that. And then we have like really bubbly. They're like, okay, what are we doing? All right. And we're like, calm down, you know? But that's what makes it great. And then we have people like Chloe that's just kind of like gentle and
So
sweet.
sweet.
And then like kind of like giggly, you know? And that's what makes it amazing, because you can learn from all of these different people.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, the homework for today's episode is start viewing other women as mirrors rather than being a threat. Start seeing them as not your competition, because they're not. Because you want them to win just as bad as you want to win in your own life.
Yeah.
And your homework is that one girl at the gym that has a really cute outfit. Maybe you've been wanting to talk to her. Smile. Compliment her shorts. Ask her where she got them. Something as small as that.
It could literally be in passing too, where sometimes I'll see a girl with a cute outfit. It's like I take out the headphone, love your outfit, keep walking.
Yes, exactly. Do that. Even if it takes you a couple of tries and it can be really scary, it could make that person's day and you don't even realize it. So just be the one.
Yeah.
You initiate. You be the type of friend that you would want. There was even this one girl that I've just recently became gym friends with. She's so tall, like 6 foot. I'm 5'2". She's intimidated the crap out of me forever. But she has amazing glutes, and she's blonde and blue eyed, and she's so beautiful. And the way that I went up to her was she was doing a workout, and she was doing it differently than how I do it. And I wanted to learn. Because I was like, girl, your glutes are crazy. I want to know why you're doing that so that maybe I could. So I went up to her and I was like, hey, so you're doing it like this. I want to know, like, do you like the angle? Like, can you feel it better? And she goes into like explaining why. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And she actually says, you know, I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and I was a little scared to come up to you. And she goes, but you're exactly how I thought you would be.
Aw.
And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, now we're friends. So, and we can share machines together. Exactly. So like if she's on a machine, I'll look at her and be like, yo, girl, say that for me.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody else. See? You know?
It's sometimes as easy as like working in with someone or asking, like literally, if you're afraid of complimenting, okay, maybe it's literally just talking to another woman. I think like start by being like, what are you training today? Like you can make it so casual, but that breaks down that like scariness, because I feel like also in the gym, I sometimes get stuck in my own head where I'm like, this is serious zone and this is not for conversation, but it's so much more enjoyable when it is, even if it's just smiling at people, saying hi, saying good morning or whatever, you know, those little interactions make you feel so good. And the same thing you were saying about like viewing someone as a mirror, think about being on the receiving end of certain things. You know how good it feels to be complimented. I'm not gonna lie, it's a human experience. We all enjoy being complimented.
100%.
So when you have those thoughts come up, obviously like don't fake something. But when you do want to pay someone a compliment, like that's your sign of, okay, I know how good that makes me feel. Let me do that for this person and expect nothing in return, you know? And then if you do have a return, then that's sick. Yeah. And now you have a new friend.
So instead of having the habit of thinking something, a compliment or something you want to say, and immediately retracting it in your own mind, what if we change the habit to be, I think of something that's kind and I want to say it. Yeah. You know, it's just about getting yourself into the habit of doing that. I actually reprogrammed my face at the gym, and now
I'm still working on that.
I have reprogrammed my face. And I knew it because I reprogrammed it everywhere that I go, where I'm not walking around smiling like a crazy person, but now anytime that I walk past a woman, I smile at her.
Oh God, I got to get better at that.
I smile at her. And it's just like, I was stuck doing the RBF for so long, and I intentionally would see a girl out and about or at the gym, like just a little like, hey, you know,
I'm going to go home and practice smirking in the mirror.
Yeah, because I know what it feels like to be on the other end, and you walk past like somebody and you're both have, RBF, and it don't need to be that way.
Yeah.
So I do know what it feels like to be on the other end. And sometimes that little smile can help put someone's guard down.
For sure.
For real.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. It was something that has been on my mind for a while.
101.
Right? So your homework. Go up to that one girl, whether it's like at the gym, in your work life. I was going to
say or work, because that's so common too, where sometimes you're just always in the same space as someone. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes like I build it up personally, and I've talked about it with like certain people at the gym, where you see them so many times and you're like, well, now it's too late. Yeah. Now I can never go up to her.
Exactly.
So choose that person and go up to them.
Yes. Just like a smile. It could start with the smile. It could start by like asking them like how many, some people don't like it actually some people are weird about that. I was going to say,
I don't get offended.
I don't get offended about that, especially in my gym. If they're like, how many sets do you have? I'm like, I got 3, girl, but I'll save it for you. So, okay, just come back later. Compliment like their outfit or something.
Yeah.
And if you catch yourself retracting it, thinking it, and then be like, no, that's your sign. You go. Yeah. You count down from 5.
It's okay,
you go
if
do
it's
it.
Scary. Do it anyway.
Yeah. But we love you guys so much, and you are more powerful than you think.
Bye.